Planetary electromagnetic transportation tubes line subductors' continental and oceanic crusts. Lush and I vacated the oppressive heat outdoors of the urban work and programming hive for relief. The archaeological work site was a tedious place such that we valued our time away from the hive of media corporate chimera. The high country was our time to reflect upon the extent of the universe and ways to escape from the ubiquitous presence of evil that had arisen to encroach myriad galaxy cycles. Near the very beginning of the universe, an abundance of matter and energy were liberated from a non-zero content at near initial singularity. Matter and antimatter canceled each other out, nearly entirely through CP invariance, and the surviving mass was embedded in a space-time scalar field that inflated faster than light following the word information for starters. At least that's a theory. What the real very beginning of a temporal order set within an eternal background of unknown nature is hard to say. Theology is required sometimes, in addition to philosophy or physical cosmology, to increase our understanding. Radiation energy in this first instant of inflation was greater than matter density, enabling the inflation. If inflation occurred, space-time expansion speed was immense and would slow only as the energy level dissipated in the expanding universe, while nearly uniform dispersed matter would begin to coalesce in dust clouds into the logic of gravitationally induced black holes. Black holes, inducing primal matter, generated brilliant light quasars, generating the power for stellar synthesis from the gas clouds of primal matter surrounding black holes and their force-affecting matrix. The black hole concentrations of mass would generate anti-gravity phenomena, accelerating the expansion of the universe for several billion years after the beginning. Black holes are at the core of nearly every galaxy if something else doesn't create that effect, such as umbilical cords of space-time geometry tied off without any mass within them, consequent to over-twisting of space-time geometry. Space-time belly buttons in the middle is just one way to understand the hyperdimensional short sheeting and stretching of select regions of space-time without the background-independent supposition of contiguous relativistic space-time geometry superimposed upon it. As space-time expands, the finite number of galaxies in the universe, perhaps a trillion more or less, are drawn farther away from each other, yet they oppositely draw that surrounding galaxies toward themselves in gravity. The standard cosmological model of the 20th century, with Einstein's theory of general relativity, predicated a spherical or closed universe that might even contract after a time. Einstein placed a cosmological constant of energy as a kind of pressure to allow the universe to resist contraction. Astronomical observations supported the idea that space-time is expanding faster toward a big rip in a few billion years. That time criterion was consistent with a conversion of mass into anti-gravity within black holes throughout the universe. That criterion was not anticipated within general relativity, and yet it might have even been. Every force in the universe except gravity is known to have a charge of positive and negative. Because gravity is associated with space-time construction, the sole place it may be manifested is within the confining anti-space-time of the black holes of the universe. Theorists have sought the location of the matching force of gravity, its missing partner that would keep a principle of the gross neutrality of energy as aspects of mass. The planet subductor is at the distant edge of the habitation zone of a galaxy in the Virgo supercluster, towards which the Milky Way galaxy and all the other galaxies of the local group of galaxies are moving approximately simultaneously with a 600 km per second motion toward the more distant Hydra Centaurus supercluster. Lush and I arrived on subductor in a one-way time-locked duality reassembly from the Milky Way, where in a former life I worked through the Martian Revolution and the Imperial War with Warp Prissy to conquer the 10 planets of Sol. Subductor evolved through the common stages of anthropogenic ecological doom as a reciprocal of social explosion. Unregulated social growth leads to the rule of organized crime and conflict with individual intelligence. Social reality disconnects with environmental actuality, and social prospects become absolutely relative without regard for existential liberty of individual potential. Social freedom is purchased through the annihilation of individual existence.